What if I told you that a penny, a single 1-cent coin, could be worth a jaw-dropping $1.8 million? Yeah, you heard me right, and no, this isn't some late-night infomercial. Today, we're diving deep into the story of the 1991 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. You might want to check your couch cushions, because this tiny coin could change your life. Stick around, and I'll tell you what makes this coin so special, how to spot one, and why someone is willing to pay a fortune for it. Spoiler alert, it's not because they just love Abraham Lincoln's beard. But first, let me set the scene. I was once like you, casually dropping pennies in tip jars or ignoring them altogether because, hey, they're just pennies, right? But one day, I stumbled upon a story about rare coins, and let's just say, it changed my entire outlook. Now, I'm the guy holding up the line at the grocery store, inspecting every coin like a detective. And after this video, you'll probably join the club too. Let's get started. So, what's the deal with the 1991 D penny, and why is it worth more than a mansion in some cities? First, let's talk basics. The D on the penny stands for the Denver Mint, where this coin was produced. Most pennies from 1991 are totally ordinary, but this one has a rare error that skyrockets its value. Error coins are like unicorns in the coin world, super rare and ridiculously valuable. In this case, the 1991 D penny is rumored to have a double die error. That means the design, like Lincoln's profile or the inscriptions, was accidentally stamped twice. The result? A slight, shadowy doubling effect on the coin. It's subtle, but coin collectors go absolutely wild for these kinds of mistakes. Think of it like a factory error on a designer handbag, except way cooler and worth a lot more. Not every double die error is worth millions. The placement of the doubling, the condition of the coin, and even its color all play a role. Coins with a shiny, almost reflective surface, what collectors call mint state, fetch the highest prices. And if your 1991 D penny is graded as MS, 65 or higher, boom, you've hit the jackpot. Come on, $1.8 million for a penny? It sounds insane, but rare coins are like pieces of art. They're valued for their history, uniqueness, and, let's be honest, bragging rights. Imagine being the person who owns a $1.8 million penny. Every time someone says, "a penny for your thoughts," you could literally laugh all the way to the bank. Let me tell you a quick story to bring this home. A few years ago, I was digging through an old jar of coins at my grandma's house. You know, the kind of jar where all the random change from decades past ends up. I wasn't expecting much, but then I found a penny from 1955. It had this weird, blurry doubling effect on the letters. Turns out, it was a famous double die error coin. While mine wasn't worth millions, it still sold for a couple $100. Not bad for something that was collecting dust in a mason jar. Never underestimate the humble penny. That loose change in your pocket could be hiding a gold mine. But back to the 1991 D penny. How can you spot one? First, grab a magnifying glass, or just zoom in with your phone camera. Look closely at the date and the D mint mark under it. If you see any signs of doubling, congratulations. You might be holding a rare treasure. Next, check the coin's condition. The shinier and cleaner it looks, the better. Finally, if you think you've hit the jackpot, have it professionally graded. Trust me, you don't want to list a $1.8 million coin on eBay without getting an expert's opinion first. Alright, folks, that's the story of the 1991 D Mint Mark penny. Who knew that something so small could be worth so much? If you're feeling inspired to dig through your coin collection, or your grandma's, do it. You never know what kind of treasure you might find. And hey, even if you don't discover a $1 million penny, you'll have a great story to tell. Plus, you'll never look at loose change the same way again. Before you go, here's my challenge for you. Start checking your coins. And if you find anything cool, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about your discoveries. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because I've got plenty more tips and tricks to help you spot coins worth big bucks. Have you ever found yourself staring at a coin, wondering if it's a secret treasure worth a fortune? Well, today, we're diving into the world of one particular penny that might just be sitting in your pocket, waiting to make you rich. And no, it's not some lucky penny with a four-leaf clover on it. We're talking about the legendary 1980 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Sounds like a crazy thing to find, right? But believe it or not, this tiny piece of copper could be worth up to $1 million. Yes, you heard that right, a million. Stick around, because you won't believe what makes this coin so special and why it's sending collectors into a frenzy. So, let's start from the beginning. In 1980, the US Mint was cranking out pennies, just like every year before it. However, something unusual happened. Some of the pennies from that year didn't have a mint mark. Now, you might be thinking, what's the big deal? It's just a missing letter. But trust me, it's not just any oversight. This mistake has made these pennies incredibly rare and extremely valuable. You see, most coins have a mint mark, either a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or no mint mark at all if they were made in Philadelphia. The 1980 pennies? Well, they were supposed to have a mint mark, but somehow, a few hundred of them didn't. It was a fluke, a rarity. And since only a handful of these no mint mark pennies exist, they're more sought after than a four-leaf clover in a field of three-leaf ones. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. I've got a jar full of old pennies in my basement, but how do I know if I've got the jackpot? Well, here's the deal. You need to check the date and look for that mint mark, or rather, the lack of it. If you've got a penny from 1980 and it doesn't have a D or S on the reverse side near the bottom, congratulations. You might just have a penny worth a small fortune. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, but when you find it, it's golden. Now, I'm not saying you should start tearing apart every penny jar you own, but this is where things get interesting. A coin that originally circulated at just 1 cent could, in certain circumstances, fetch up to $1 million. Yes, $1 million. That's no joke. So, the next time you're sorting through your loose change, you might just find that golden ticket sitting in the bottom of your drawer. If you think I'm joking, just ask a few coin collectors who would probably trade their entire coin collections for a chance at finding this elusive penny. Let me tell you a little personal story. A few years ago, I was at a garage sale when I stumbled upon a box filled with old coins. Nothing too fancy, just the usual mix of nickels, dimes, and pennies. I almost passed it up, but decided to grab a few for fun. When I got home, I decided to sort through them, and guess what I found? A 1980 penny that had no mint mark. I didn't realize it at the time, but after doing some quick research, I realized I was sitting on a potential gold mine. While it wasn't quite the $1 million one, I wish, it was still worth much more than your average penny. It's moments like these that make coin collecting so exciting. What might seem like a boring penny could actually be the key to a small fortune. And even if you don't have $1 million penny lying around, there are plenty of other rare coins out there that could be worth a nice chunk of change. So, what's the takeaway from all this? Always check your pennies. Okay, maybe not every penny you find, but if you come across a 1980 penny with no mint mark, you could be holding onto something worth a small fortune. Don't let those coins slip through your fingers, and remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are thousands of other coins out there that could be worth more than you think. If you want to stay in the loop and learn more about coins that could make you a millionaire, or at least put a nice dent in your savings, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty more tips, tricks, and strategies coming your way. And trust me, you don't want to miss out. I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know about this crazy rare penny, how you can spot it, and why it could make you a millionaire, well, if you find one. Anyway. Alright, so let's set the stage. It's 1979, disco is in full swing, and everyone is rocking their best bell-bottoms while listening to Saturday Night Fever. Meanwhile, at the US Mint, something pretty wild is going down. They're cranking out pennies like usual, but a tiny little flaw slips through the cracks, and that flaw is going to lead to a serious fortune for a lucky collector. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, how the heck is a penny, of all things, worth $1 million? Great question. This isn't just any 1979 penny. It's a 1979 D penny, which means it was minted in Denver. But here's the kicker. It has a double die error. What does that mean, you ask? Well, in simple terms, it means that during the minting process, the die used to strike the coin was improperly aligned, causing the image of Abraham Lincoln's face and the text around it to be doubled. It's like trying to print a picture on your computer, but the paper slipped halfway through, and you get two blurry copies of the same image. Except, In this case, that little mistake is worth millions. Now, these double die errors are actually pretty rare, and they don't happen with every batch. In fact, most pennies from 1979, even ones from the Denver Mint, are just regular old pennies. But when that error penny pops up, it's a gold mine. And the reason it's worth so much has to do with rarity and demand. Collectors are always looking for rare finds, and when a coin has a mistake like this, it's what they call a mule. Essentially a coin that didn't quite come out as intended, making it a unique item for numismatists. That's fancy talk for coin collectors. The best of these 1979 D double die pennies have been sold for over $1 million in auctions. Now, here's where it gets exciting. If you're out there, just casually checking your pocket change or looking through a roll of pennies, how do you know if you've got one of these valuable bad boys? Well, the easiest way to spot it is to look for that double image. What you want to check are the letters on the coin, especially around the phrase Liberty and In God We Trust. If you notice that the letters or Lincoln's portrait look like they've been stamped twice, once slightly off-center, then you've found it. Seriously, it's like the penny has been kissed by the minting gods. You won't miss it. Now, let's talk about how to value it. It's not just any 1979 penny that's going to fetch millions. The condition of the coin matters too. Coins are graded based on their quality, and if your penny is in excellent condition, you could be looking at some serious cash. A penny with the error in almost mint condition could easily cross the $1 million mark. Here's the thing though. If you find a 1979 D penny and it doesn't have that double die error, well, you're still looking at just the usual penny value of about 1 cent. Sorry, no $1 million windfalls there. But don't let that get you down. Pennies like these are rare, and finding one could be like winning the lottery. Speaking of rare coins, let me share a quick story with you. A couple of years ago, I was going through some old change I had lying around in a drawer. You know, like most of us do. I started looking for older coins to see if any were worth something. The typical silver quarters, half dollars, you know. And I actually found a 1943 steel penny in pretty decent condition. Now, I wasn't expecting to find a jackpot, but I was curious to see how much it might be worth that I ended up selling it for around $40. Not quite $1 million, but hey, it's a nice little return for a penny I found in my drawer, right? So, it's not impossible to find valuable coins in your spare change. You just need to keep your eyes peeled and know what you're looking for, and that, my friend, is exactly why I'm here, helping you on your coin hunt. So, there you have it. That 1979 D Mint Mark penny with a double die error is one heck of a rare find. If you're lucky enough to stumble upon one, you could be looking at a life-changing amount of money. But remember, most pennies aren't worth millions, so keep your expectations in check. But always keep your eyes open. Before you go diving into your coin jar, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more tips, tricks, and coin secrets that could put some serious cash in your pocket. Who knows? The next rare coin might be waiting for you in your couch cushions. Well, that's just a penny. Nothing special. Well, let me stop you right there because today we're talking about a penny that could make you a millionaire. No, I'm not talking about the golden chocolate ones they hand out at parties. This is the real deal. We're talking about the 1991 No Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny, and it could be worth a whopping $1.2 million. Yeah, you heard me right. $1.2 million for a tiny copper coin that's older than most of the stuff in your junk drawer. Now, if you're thinking, what? A penny worth $1 million? You're messing with me. I promise, I'm not. Grab a seat, because this is a journey from a simple penny to a small fortune. Let's dive in. So, let's break this down. The 1991 penny. Sounds pretty basic, right? I mean, most of us probably have a couple dozen of them floating around in our pockets or under the couch cushions. But here's the kicker, not all 1991 pennies are created equal. You see, most pennies have a mint mark on them. That little D or S or P tells you where the coin was made. The 1991 penny, however, had a no mint mark variety. This means it was made in the Philadelphia Mint, but for some strange reason, the mint mark just never got stamped onto the coin. And that, my friends, is where the magic happens. Let me tell you a little story. I remember the first time I found a coin that looked kind of odd. I was cleaning out an old box of coins that my grandpa had passed down to me, probably from the 70s or something. Most of them were just old nickels and pennies that didn't seem like they'd be worth more than, Well, a few cents. But then, I found this old penny. I didn't think much of it at the time. It wasn't even shiny. But something told me to hang on to it. Fast forward a few months, and I found out that the penny was a rare variant. It wasn't $1 million find, but it sure made me feel like a coin expert. That little discovery got me hooked on collecting coins, and let me tell you, it's paid off in more ways than what I now. Back to the 1991 no mint mark penny. Here's the thing. Only a very small number of these pennies were released, making them rare, and rarity equals value in the coin world. In fact, only about 20 to 30 of these rare pennies are known to exist today. And if you happen to find one in decent condition, you're looking at a potential payday. It might sound too good to be true, but it's real. These pennies have been spotted at auction houses and sold for over $1.2 million. One lucky collector got their hands on one in 2018, and bam, they were millionaires just like that. But hold up. Before you go rifling through your penny jar, keep in mind that just having a 1991 penny isn't enough. For this baby to be worth a fortune, it needs to be in mint condition. And I'm not talking about a shiny, brand new penny. I mean one that looks almost flawless, with no major dents, scratches, or signs of wear. The ones that are in top condition have fetched the crazy high prices. So, what does this all mean for you? If you've got a collection of pennies from the early 90s, now's the time to double-check them. Take a look, and if you find one of these rare, no mint mark beauties, you could be sitting on a small fortune. Maybe not $1 million right away, but hey, you never know. And here's the thing. Coin collecting isn't just about finding that one in a million penny. It's about the hunt, the knowledge, and the excitement of discovering something valuable that's been hiding in plain sight. It's like a treasure hunt every time you check your pocket change. And the best part? You don't have to be a pro to get started. Just a little curiosity and a little guidance, and you could be well on your way to building a valuable collection. Before I let you go, I want to say thank you for hanging out with me today and diving into the world of rare coins. If you love learning about hidden treasures and want more tips on coins worth money and strategies to up your collecting game, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on all the fun stuff I've got planned for you in the future. We're going to dig into even more coins, share tips, and maybe even help you find your own hidden fortune. So, stay curious, keep collecting, and who knows? Your next coin might just make you a millionaire. Imagine for a second, you're holding a penny in your hand. Just a regular penny, right? But wait, what if I told you that a certain penny, minted back in 1971, could be worth $1.3 million today? Sounds like a dream, huh? Well, it's not. This is the true story of the 1971 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Yeah, you heard me right. That tiny, copper disc could be sitting in your coin jar, unnoticed, waiting for its big moment. So buckle up, because today we're diving into why this little penny is causing such a stir in the coin world, what makes it so special, and how you could strike gold without even realizing it. Let's get into it. All right, let's break it down. In the world of coin collecting, sometimes it's the little things that can make the biggest difference. For most of us, we wouldn't think twice about a penny, let alone a 1971 penny. But here's the kicker. In 1971, most pennies had a mint mark on them, either an S for San Francisco or a D for Denver. But somehow, just a few pennies came out with no mint mark at all. And that's where the magic happens. You see, these 1971 pennies were supposed to have a mint mark, and because they didn't, it made them super rare. They were, in a sense, a manufacturing error. And like anything that's rare in the world of collectibles, that mistake makes them worth a lot of money. Like, a lot of money. We're talking around $1.3 million, depending on the condition and how the coin is graded by professionals. You might be thinking, okay, that's crazy. How could something as small as a missing mint mark make a penny worth over $1 million? Well, it's because of the rarity and the mystery behind these coins. Nobody really knows for sure how many of these error pennies are out there, but it's estimated that only a handful, maybe just a few, survived. And when it comes to rare coins, scarcity equals big dollars. Now that you know how special these 1971 pennies are, let's talk about how to find one. First off, let me give you a pro tip. You're going to want to go through your spare change very carefully. Trust me, I learned this lesson the hard way. I remember one time, I was cleaning out my change jar, and I tossed out a bunch of pennies I thought were totally worthless. Yeah, no joke. I threw away a coin that could have made me rich. So, here's how to spot one of these golden, well, not literally golden, pennies. First, you need to check for the year, 1971. If you've got one, flip it over and look at the mint mark, or more importantly, the lack of one. If you don't see an S or a D on the reverse side, that's your jackpot. But hold up, there's one more thing. Condition matters. The more pristine the coin, the more valuable it becomes. These coins need to be in near-perfect shape to get top dollar. We're talking about coins with sharp details and minimal wear and tear. If your penny looks like it's been through a time machine and then dropped in the dirt, it's not going to fetch you $1,000,000. But don't give up hope. Even coins in decent condition can still fetch a nice chunk of change. Alright, so now you've got a 1971 penny with no mint mark sitting in front of you. What's next? Well, before you start planning your world tour, you'll need to get your coin appraised. There are professionals, known as numismatists, who specialize in evaluating coins. They'll be able to grade your penny and tell you exactly what it's worth. Once you have an official appraisal, it's time to consider selling. You can sell your coin at an auction, to a reputable dealer, or even through online platforms. But before you do that, make sure you know the current market trends. Coin values can fluctuate, just like stocks. So it's important to time your sale wisely. And hey, if you ever find yourself sitting on a penny worth $1,000,000, make sure you celebrate responsibly. Maybe buy a nice new coin jar. So, the next time you're digging through your coin jar or scrounging around in your couch cushions, remember this. That penny you almost tossed in the trash could be worth a lot more than you think. The 1971 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is a true rarity in the world of coin collecting, and you could be holding onto one without even realizing it. Keep your eyes peeled, your hands clean, and your change jar safe. You never know what treasure is hiding in plain sight. Before I wrap up, I want to make sure you don't miss out on more tips like this. If you're into coins, money-making strategies, or just love a good treasure hunt, hit that subscribe button right now. I've got tons of videos lined up to help you discover the hidden gems in your pockets and coin jars. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And remember, if you find a 1971 penny with no mint mark, don't spend it. Unless, of course, you want to send me a thank you card. Now, if you're like me, you probably have a jar or two of old pennies lying around somewhere, just waiting to be tossed in the piggy bank or left to collect dust in a drawer. But hold on. Did you know that one specific penny, from 1973, could be worth a jaw-dropping $1.4 million? That's right, a penny. And it has a mint mark that you might have never even thought twice about. Stick with me, and I'll tell you everything you need to know about this rare coin that could change your life, or at least make you rethink that jar of change on your desk. So grab a snack, sit back, and let's dive into the mystery of the 1973 D mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Alright, so first things first, let's talk about why this coin is so special. The 1973 penny, as you might guess, was minted during, well, 1973. Nothing too crazy there. But here's the catch. Most of the pennies from that year are, well, pretty run-of-the-mill. They're copper, they're in circulation, and they're, frankly, worth 1 cent. However, there's a rare exception. An incredibly small number of these 1973 pennies have been discovered with a minting error. And when I say small number, I mean we're talking extremely rare. The key factor, the mint mark. You see, the mint mark on a coin tells us where it was made. And the one we're focusing on today is the elusive D. That's right, a penny minted in Denver in 1973, with the D mint mark, has been found in a couple of highly unusual, near-perfect condition examples. These pennies are basically like the unicorns of the coin world. If you find one, you're not just rich, you're very rich. Now, I know what you're thinking. How is it possible that a penny could be worth that much? It's all about rarity and condition. You've probably heard the term error coin thrown around, and that's exactly what we're dealing with here. An error in the way the coin was struck by the mint made this penny special. To make things even more interesting, the coin's condition has to be practically flawless to fetch the highest value. I remember the first time I heard about coins being worth millions. I was going through my own little stash of pennies when I stumbled across a 1970-something penny. I thought, hey, this could be it. It was shiny, it was in decent condition, and I could practically hear the kaching. in the background as I pulled it from my collection. Spoiler alert, it was just a regular penny. But I kept at it, kept learning, and that persistence is what paid off when I actually found something valuable in my collection years later. But that's a story for another time. So, what does this rare penny look like, and how do you know if you have one? The 1973 penny that's worth millions is extremely rare, and you're not likely to find one just sitting in a random coin jar. The error is subtle, and most of the time, the coin is in a really good state. The minting issue that makes it so valuable involves a misalignment, or sometimes an incorrect die used to stamp the image of Abraham Lincoln on the coin. For the penny to be worth $1.4 million, it's typically got to be in near-perfect, mint condition. If you find a 1973 penny with no scratches, no wear on the image of Lincoln, and the details are crisp as a fresh stack of bills, then you might be in for a treat. But don't just take my word for it. Always get a professional appraiser or coin expert to look at it. It's a combination of rarity and demand. With only a few of these pennies in existence, collectors are willing to pay top dollar for a chance to own one. If you think about it, how many people have a chance to own a piece of history? Not many. Collectors love the idea of owning a coin that's part of a limited set, and having a penny from 1973 with that elusive D mint mark just makes it that much more desirable. Plus, the sheer amount of time it has taken for these coins to surface makes them even more valuable. I mean, it's not like you're going to walk into a store and find one on the shelf next to your favorite candy bar. All right, before you run off and start rifling through every penny you've got stashed in your sock drawer or under your couch cushions, a quick word of caution. It's still pretty rare to find this kind of coin. But hey, it never hurts to check. You never know what could be hidden in your collection or your pocket change. And speaking of checking, here's where I'd love for you to take action. If you found coins like this, or just want to learn more about rare finds, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We've got tons of tips, tricks, and strategies to help you build your collection and possibly even score some hidden treasures worth a lot more than you thought. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep checking your coins. You might just find a jackpot hiding in plain sight. You're going to want to hear this one. Imagine walking into a thrift store or going through your old coin jar and finding a penny. Not just any penny, but a 1975 Abraham Lincoln penny that's worth a whopping $1.50 million. Sounds crazy, right? Well, buckle up, because we're diving into the wild world of rare coins today. You know, it's funny how many people overlook the small stuff, especially pennies. We've all been there, tossing pennies into the back of a drawer or flicking them across the sidewalk like they're worthless. But sometimes, those little pennies are worth way more than you could ever imagine. I know because it happened to me, and no, I didn't find a $1.5 million penny. But the first time I learned about rare coins, I was blown away. Let me tell you, my whole attitude about pocket change changed forever. So, let's break down this mystery and answer the big question. What makes a 1975 no-mint mark penny worth more than most people's cars, homes, or even entire collections of fancy silver spoons? Let's get into it. All right, let's get technical for a minute, but don't worry. I promise we'll keep it fun. The 1975 penny. That was a big year, huh? The Ford Mustang was still rocking the roads. Disco was alive and well, and people were just trying to figure out what in the world Star Wars was all about. But in the world of coin collecting, 1975 is remembered for something completely unexpected: pennies with no mint mark. Now, usually, you'll find a little D or S stamped on your pennies. That tells you where the penny was made. D for Denver, S for San Francisco. But in 1975, a small number of pennies were released into circulation without any mint mark. No D, no S, nothing. Nada. And those pennies? Well, they could be worth a fortune. The reason is simple. It's all about rarity. Pennies without a mint mark are considered an error coin and error coins. Whether they're a double die, a misprint, or in this case, a missing mint mark, are coveted by collectors who love unique pieces. The 1975 no mint mark penny is super rare, and as a result, its value has skyrocketed. Now, I know what you're thinking. What are the odds I've got one of these rare pennies just sitting in my pocket? Well, the odds are better than you think. In fact, one of these pennies recently sold for an eye-popping $1.5 million at auction. Yes, you heard that right. $1.5 million. How can I check if I have one of these elusive 1975 no mint mark pennies? Simple. Grab your magnifying glass or just your reading glasses and check the date and the mint mark area. If there's nothing there, you might have yourself a golden ticket to a life-changing payday. But, and this is a big but, before you get too excited, it's important to know that not every 1975 penny with no mint mark will fetch millions. Condition is key. These pennies need to be in pretty stellar shape to reach top dollar. We're talking about mint state condition here, which is like saying your penny is in pristine, like new condition. If your penny is all scratched up, covered in grime, or looks like it's been through a washing machine, I know, we've all seen that happen to some change, then you're probably looking at a value closer to a regular penny. Now, here's where the fun kicks in. I have a little story to share with you about my own experience with rare coins. A few years ago, I was at a garage sale. Yes, a garage sale. Digging through some old boxes, looking for some cool stuff when I found a jar full of coins. I bought it for $1. I mean, what's the harm, right? And when I got home, I started sifting through it. Turns out, I found a coin that looked like it had been through a few too many rounds of bingo. It was all beat up, but I held on to it. Fast forward a few months, and I took it to a coin dealer just to see if it was worth anything. The guy looked at it, rubbed his eyes, and said, "You know what? This coin's in rough shape, but it could still be valuable. Let's get this cleaned up and send it in for grading." Now, my coin didn't end up being worth $1 million, but it definitely surprised me. And it really got me thinking, what if one of those pennies I tossed in my jar did turn out to be worth a small fortune? So, the moral of the story: never toss out a coin without checking it first. You never know when you might find a treasure buried in your change jar. Alright, now that you know all about the 1975 no mint mark penny and its crazy potential value, here's the thing: it's not all about luck. Sure, a bit of good fortune never hurt anyone, but it's also about being in the know. The more you learn about rare coins, the better your chances of finding one of these little treasures. And let me tell you, there are plenty of other rare coins out there, just waiting to be discovered. So, if you want more tips, tricks, and strategies to hunt down coins that could be worth big bucks, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I've got tons of insider info coming your way, and trust me, you don't want to miss out on all the cool coin knowledge that'll have you checking your spare change like a pro. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay curious, keep hunting, and remember, sometimes the smallest things are the most valuable. It's just a penny. Well, what if I told you that a 1961D mint mark penny, yes, that humble little copper disc, could be worth a whopping $1.60 million? No, this isn't some internet prank. This is the real deal. Stick with me, and I'll explain exactly how this little penny could change your life and how you can spot valuable coins in your own collection. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future tips. Trust me, you don't want to be the last to know about coins worth more than your car. Alright, let's get into it. The 1961D penny is one of those under-the-radar coins that could end up being a small fortune. So, what makes it so special? Let's rewind for a second. In 1961, the U.S. Mint in Denver, that's where the D mint mark comes from, produced a ton of pennies, but only a tiny percentage of them were struck in a way that could make them worth millions. We're talking about a minting error, a very rare, very specific mistake that happened during production. You see, due to the way the dies were worn out or possibly damaged, some 1961D pennies were accidentally struck with double dies, meaning the image on the coin was stamped twice. And when I say double stamped, I don't mean the way you forget to cancel your email and end up sending it twice. I mean, this was an actual coin error that, for collectors, is like finding a four-leaf clover in a field of three-leaf ones. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, right, how often does that happen? And you're right, errors like this don't happen every day. That's why finding one of these pennies in your loose change could be a total game-changer. So, how do you find one? Well, first, you'll need to know what you're looking for. The key characteristic of the 1961D double die penny is the doubling in the letters and numbers, most notably on Liberty and In God We Trust. You'll actually see a second, faint image of the lettering slightly offset from the original. It's like a little optical illusion right there on the coin. Now, let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, I was going through some old change I had left in a jar, That jar where you toss the pennies you find in your couch cushions? We've all got one. So, I'm sorting through them, thinking they're just junk. I'm about to toss out a 1961D penny when something catches my eye. I swear I saw a little shadow of the word Liberty right next to the original one. My heart skipped a beat. Was it possible? I didn't think I'd struck gold, but I definitely wasn't going to throw it away without a second look. I didn't end up with $1 million coin, but that moment made me realize just how important it is to pay attention to every penny. You never know when the next one could be worth more than your lunch. Back to the $1 million coin. If you're lucky enough to find a 1961D with that double die error, you could be sitting on a coin that's worth a lot more than just 1 cent. A properly graded example of this rare penny can fetch around $1.6 million. Yes, you read that correctly. A penny that's been sitting in someone's drawer for decades could suddenly be worth a small fortune. Isn't that wild? Now, here's the thing. Just because you have a 1961D penny doesn't mean it's worth $1 million. The coin needs to be in pretty good shape, with the doubling visible, and it has to be graded properly. If you find one, definitely get it looked at by a professional grader. And here's a pro tip. Make sure to keep it in good condition. You don't want to find a rare coin and then handle it like it's just a regular penny. Another thing to note is that even if your 1961D penny doesn't have the double die error, it's still worth something. It's not going to break the bank, but a 1961D can still fetch a few bucks if it's in excellent condition. So, don't toss it just so. What can we learn from all this? First off, don't underestimate the value of your pocket change. Coins that seem like no big deal could actually be hiding something incredibly rare and valuable. Keep an eye out for those minting errors, because as you can see, it could be worth millions of dollars. Now, I know you're probably itching to go check all your pennies for double die errors, and I'm here for it. So, if you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about coins that could be worth a fortune, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Who knows? The next coin you find could be worth way more than just a couple of cents. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Keep hunting those rare coins, and I'll see you. You're cleaning out an old drawer. You find a penny, and suddenly, boom! That little copper coin is worth $1 million. Sounds crazy, right? But that's the story behind the 2019 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Yep, that unassuming coin sitting in your change jar could turn your life around. Stick around because we're diving into why this penny is so special, how it's worth $1 million, and what to look for in your spare change. Oh, and trust me, you'll want to check your pockets after this one. Alright, so let's break it down. First off, the 2019 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't your average penny. Sure, it's got Abe Lincoln chillin' on the front like all modern US pennies. But here's the kicker. No mint mark. Normally, pennies are stamped with a little letter that tells you where they were made. A D for Denver, or an S for San Francisco. But this one, nada, zilch. And that's exactly what makes it so rare. Back in 2019, a small batch of pennies somehow left the mint without their marks. Nobody knows exactly how it happened. Some say it was a printing error, others think it was a rogue mint employee on a coffee break. Either way, the no-mint mark Lincoln penny is one of the rarest modern coins out there. And guess what? Rare coins equals big money. Now, here's where things get spicy. One of these pennies sold at auction for a jaw-dropping $1.1 million. Yeah, you heard me right, $1 million for a penny. That's like finding a winning lottery ticket under your couch cushions. Imagine the look on the bidder's face when they walked out with a single penny that costs more than most people's houses. So, how can you cash in? It's easier than you think. Grab any 2019 penny you've got lying around and check for a mint mark. If there's a tiny D or S under the year, sorry, you're not retiring early today. But if there's nothing there, oh boy, you might be in business. But hold up, before you go spending your potential fortune, here's a pro tip. Condition matters. A penny with scratches and dings? Probably worth a few bucks. But if it's in mint condition, shiny, smooth, and looking like it just left the factory, that's where the big money comes in. It's like comparing a vintage car in perfect shape to one with 3 missing wheels. And you'll want to get it graded. That's a fancy way of saying you send it to an expert who checks its condition and authenticity. They'll give it a grade from 1 to 70, 70 being the holy grail of penny perfection. A perfect 70? That's the $1 million ticket. Let me tell you a quick story. A while back, I was sorting through a jar of spare change, because who doesn't have a jar of random coins, right? Anyway, I'm sitting there, bored out of my mind, when I spot this penny that looked different. No mint mark. My heart skipped a beat. Could it be? I Googled furiously, dreaming of yachts and beachfront mansions. It wasn't a 2019 penny. It was from some random year, and I was out of luck. But hey, now I check every penny I come across, and I'm telling you, it's kind of addicting. It's like playing the lottery, but with spare change. Who knows? Your next coffee run could come with $1 million tip. All right, folks, now it's your turn. Go grab your wallet, your coin jar, or even that random pile of change in your car's cup holder. Look for that elusive 2019 no mint mark penny, and you might just hit the jackpot. And if you found this helpful, why not hit that subscribe button? I've got loads more tips on coins that are secretly worth a fortune, how to spot them, and strategies for turning your change into cold, hard cash. Don't miss out, because who knows? The next video might just teach you how to retire with a nickel. Thanks for watching and happy hunting. Oh, and remember, always check your change before you spend it. What if I told you that the little copper penny rattling around in your pocket could be worth over $1 million? That's right. Today we're talking about the 1985 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny, a humble coin that's caused quite a stir in the numismatic world. It might just be the golden ticket hiding in plain sight. And no, this isn't some late-night infomercial. This is real life. By the end of this video, you'll know why this penny is so valuable, how to spot one, and maybe even how to cash in big. So, grab your change jar and let's dive in. Okay, first things first, why is this penny so special? It's not just your average 1985 penny. We're talking about one minted in Denver, marked by the tiny D below the date. What sets it apart is a rare error in the minting process. Errors in coins are like typos in best-selling books. They make the item more valuable because they're unique. And in this case, the 1985 D penny's error turned it into a $1 million masterpiece. The error in question? A misaligned die strike. That's fancy coin talk for saying the minting machine hiccuped and stamped the design slightly off-center. These mistakes are rare, but collectors love them. It's like finding a Picasso with a tiny smudge. Flawed but one of a kind. Now, let's talk value. Most 1985 pennies are worth, well, a penny. But a handful of these error coins are worth thousands, and the creme de la creme recently sold for, drumroll please, $1.1 million. That's not just life-changing, that's life-making. Imagine cashing in a penny and walking away with a mansion, a dream vacation, and still having enough to keep your Netflix subscription running for the next 1,000 years. But don't get too excited just yet. Not every 1985 D penny is a jackpot. Here's what you need to look for. Check for the D mint mark. Flip that penny over and make sure it was minted in Denver. Inspect for errors. Is the design slightly off-center? Do you see doubling in the text or numbers? Those are telltale signs of an error. Condition is key. Coins in pristine condition, no scratches, no tarnish, are the ones that fetch the big bucks. If it looks like it's been through a war zone, sorry, but it's probably just a penny. Okay, let me share a quick story. A couple of years ago, I was sorting through an old jar of change my grandma kept in her kitchen. She used to say, "Never underestimate a penny. It might just save your life one day." I thought she was being dramatic, but guess what I found? A 1985 D penny. Unfortunately, it wasn't the $1 million kind. But for a moment, I felt like I'd won the lottery. I even called a coin dealer to double-check, and they kindly informed me that my treasure was worth a whopping 5 cents. But hey, it was still more than its face value. So, don't sleep on your spare change, folks. There could be hidden gems just waiting to be discovered. Now, let's bring it home. The 1985 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny isn't just a piece of history. It's a ticket to financial freedom if you're lucky enough to find one. But even if you don't stumble upon a $1 million coin, the thrill of the hunt is priceless. Sorting through your change might just uncover something amazing. If you're curious about more coins that could make you rich, or you want to learn the secrets of spotting valuable collectibles, hit that subscribe button. Let's make treasure hunting a team effort. And while you're at it, give this video a thumbs up and share it with a friend. Because who wouldn't want to find a $1 million penny? Thanks for watching, and remember, the next time you see a penny, don't just pick it up, inspect it. See you in the next video. Have you ever heard the saying, check your pockets before you do laundry? Well, what if I told you that one ordinary-looking penny could be worth more than $1 million? Yes, you heard that right, one penny. And today, we're diving into the incredible story of the 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln penny that's making collectors and enthusiasts lose their minds. So, grab your loose change, because by the end of this video, you might just be ready to flip your couch cushions for buried treasure. Alright, let's start with the basics. The 1973 penny without a mint mark is just like your everyday Lincoln penny. Same iconic portrait, same coppery shine, same size. But here's the kicker. This little guy wasn't made at the Denver Mint or the San Francisco Mint. Nope, this one came straight out of the Philadelphia Mint, which, back then, didn't bother stamping a mint mark on coins. You know, because Philly just likes to keep things mysterious. So why is this penny worth a jaw-dropping $1.2 million? First off, it's not every single 1973 penny without a mint mark. So don't go quitting your day job just yet. What makes this coin so special is a combination of rarity, condition, and a little bit of collector craziness. Let's talk rarity. The specific 1973 no-mint mark penny in question is a rare proof-like coin. Proof coins are struck with extra care to create sharp details and a mirror-like finish, but this particular penny wasn't supposed to be a proof. It's essentially a minting accident, a shiny, flawless rebel in a world of average pennies. Then there's the condition. Coin collectors are super picky about this stuff. This penny is in near-perfect condition, graded at MS67, which stands for Mint State 67. To put that into perspective, that's like finding a 50-year-old car that still has that new car smell and not a single scratch on it. And let's not forget the collectors. Coin collectors, or numismatists, yes, that's a real word, go bananas for unique coins like this one. It's the same reason people bid outrageous amounts for rare baseball cards or Pokemon holographics. It's not just about the object. It's about the story behind it, the rarity, and the bragging rights. Now, let me tell you a quick story to bring this all home. A few years ago, I found a jar of pennies tucked away in my grandma's attic. I was sure I'd struck gold. Okay, copper. I spent hours combing through them, checking dates and mint marks. Turns out, most of them were worth exactly 1 cent. But you know what? It sparked my interest in coin collecting. And that's how I learned about gems like the 1973 no-mint mark penny.so. How do you know if you've got $1 million penny sitting in your coin jar? First, check the date. Look for 1973 on the obverse, and make sure there's no tiny letter D or S under the date. If there's no mint mark, you're off to a good start. Next, look at the condition. Does it look flawless, like it just rolled out of the mint? If you think you've got something special, you'll need to get it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. Don't get too carried away. Most 1973 no-mint mark pennies are just regular pennies worth, well, a penny. But who knows? Lightning does strike, and someone out there has to find these treasures, right? So there you have it. The story of the humble 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln penny that's worth more than most houses. It's proof, pun intended, that sometimes the smallest things can hold the biggest surprises. And who knows? Maybe your next coffee run change will hold the key to your fortune. Before you go rummaging through your spare change, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I've got plenty more stories, tips, and STR. You're rifling through your pocket change, completely unaware that one tiny, unassuming penny in there could make you a millionaire. Yes, you heard me right, a single penny, like the 2018 D. Abraham Lincoln penny, is making headlines, with some examples valued at a jaw-dropping $1.3 million. Sound too good to be true? Stick around, because today, we're diving deep into why this coin is worth so much, how to spot one, and what you can do to turn your spare change into serious cash. And by the way, if you're someone who's ever skipped over pennies because it's just a penny, this video might change your life. Let's get into it. Body so. What's the deal with the 2018 D. Lincoln penny? For starters, it's not just any old penny. While millions were minted at the Denver Mint that year, the ones fetching astronomical prices have something extra special going on. We're talking about rare minting errors, impeccable condition, and let's not forget the demand among collectors that drives prices sky high. Now, here's the kicker. The $1.3 million penny? It's in a category all its own because of its pristine grade, designated as MS69 by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS. That's just one tiny step away from perfection. Think about it. A coin that survived minting, transportation, and circulation without so much as a scratch. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I got into coin collecting because, like most of us, I wanted to make some extra cash. I remember finding a shiny 2018 penny in my change at a coffee shop. My heart skipped a beat. Could this be it? Could this be the golden ticket? Spoiler alert, it wasn't. But that tiny thrill of possibility got me hooked. Now, here's how you can avoid my rookie mistake. First, look for the D mint mark on the front of the penny, right below the date. This indicates it was minted in Denver. Next, examine the coin closely. Does it have any unusual features? Look for double die errors, extra letters, or anything that seems off. And for goodness sake, don't clean it. Cleaning can lower its value faster than you can say, oops. You might be wondering, but why $1.3 million? Great question. The value of any rare coin boils down to three things: rarity, condition, and demand. In this case, the rarity is off the charts. Only a handful of 2018 D pennies in MS69 condition exist. When one of those pops up at auction, wealthy collectors are more than happy to throw down serious cash for the privilege of owning it. Now, before you start tearing apart your couch cushions, let's manage expectations. Most 2018 D pennies are worth, well, a penny. But even if you find one in decent condition, it could still bring in a few bucks, or even a couple of $100 if it has an interesting error. And let's be real, that's not a bad return for something you found in your pocket. So, what's the moral of the story here? Never underestimate your spare change. That little 2018 D penny could be your ticket to a fortune, or, at the very least, a fun story to share with your friends. The key is to keep your eyes open, do a little research, and, most importantly, have fun with it. If you enjoyed this video and want more tips on spotting valuable coins, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I've got plenty more stories, strategies, and secrets to help you uncover hidden treasures in your pocket change. Who knows? Maybe next time, you'll be the one holding a $1.3 million penny. You're digging through your spare change, maybe looking for enough coins to grab a coffee, and bam, you come across a penny. Just a regular Abraham Lincoln penny, right? Wrong. Because this tiny copper gem could secretly be worth $1.40 million. Yes, you heard that right, million with an M. Today, we're talking about the 1984 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, why it's so special, how to spot one, and how it could make you richer than you've ever imagined, without even playing the lottery. So grab your piggy banks and start shaking them out because this could change your life, or at least your coffee budget. Okay, first, let's dive into why this penny is worth a jaw-dropping $1.4 million. It all starts with a little minting quirk. The 1984 Abraham Lincoln penny without a mint mark is special because it was part of a rare batch produced in error. Most coins have a mint mark, those tiny little letters on the coin that tell you where it was made, like D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But some 1984 pennies from the Philadelphia Mint were released without that mark, making them incredibly rare and highly collectible. Now, here's the kicker. It's not just about the no-mint mark thing. The real superstar among these pennies is a very specific type that has a double die obverse. That's a fancy way of saying that during the minting process, the die used to stamp the design on the coin shifted slightly, creating a doubling effect. You can see it if you look closely at Lincoln's face, his ear, or the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." It's like the penny has a shadow. Only this shadow is worth more than your car. Speaking of spotting these beauties, let me share a little story. A few years ago, I was hanging out with a buddy of mine, and we decided to sort through some old change he had. You know, just for fun. Because what's more exciting than counting pennies, right? Anyway, we came across this funky-looking 1984 penny. I thought, this looks weird, but we shrugged it off. A week later, he calls me up and says, "Dude, that penny? I took it to a coin shop, and it's worth a couple $100. Now, was it the elusive $1.4 million version? Nope. But still, talk about a win. Ever since then, I've been checking every single penny like a hawk.so. How do you know if you've got the real deal? Grab a magnifying glass or use your phone's camera zoom. You'll need to look super closely at Lincoln's ear and the text. If you notice that doubled effect, you might be in business.no mint mark. Even better. But remember, not every 1984 penny without a mint mark is valuable. It has to have that doubling. Get it authenticated. Don't just assume you've struck gold, or copper in this case. Take it to a professional coin dealer or send it to a coin grading service like PCGS. They'll tell you if your penny is the real McCoy. Check auction sites. Rare coins like this often go up for auction, and collectors are willing to shell out big bucks. Now, you're probably wondering, why would anyone pay $1.4 million for a penny? Great question. The short answer is that collectors love rarity, especially when it comes with a cool backstory like a minting error. It's like owning a piece of history, except this piece fits in your pocket and could pay off your mortgage. All right, folks, it's time to start checking your change jars, digging through couch cushions, and raiding your grandma's penny collection. You never know. Your next coffee run could turn into a $1 million payday. But even if you don't find the 1984 no mint mark penny, don't give up. There are tons of other valuable coins out there just waiting to be discovered. If you found this video helpful, or at least mildly entertaining, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty more coin tips and strategies to help you uncover hidden treasures in your everyday life. And hey, let me know in the comments, what's the coolest coin you've ever found? You're digging through an old jar of pennies, maybe one your grandparents had, and bam, you come across a seemingly normal 1968 penny. But what if I told you that little coin without a mint mark could be worth more than $1.5 million? Yep, you heard that right, million. Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of the 1968 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, how it got so valuable, and how you might just have one sitting in a drawer somewhere. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around because this could be life-changing, or at least life-enhancing. So, let's talk about this 1968 penny. At first glance, it looks pretty standard. Lincoln's profile on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But here's the kicker. If it doesn't have a mint mark under the date, no tiny D or S, you could be sitting on a gold mine. Coins without a mint mark were typically made in Philadelphia. Normally, that's not a big deal, but in 1968, there was a mix-up. A few pennies that were meant to stay within the Philadelphia Mint somehow ended up in circulation, making them extremely rare. Think of it like finding an original Star Wars figure still in its packaging or an old Pokemon card in mint condition. It's all about rarity. Now, you're probably wondering, how in the world is this little copper coin worth $1.5 million? Well, that value comes from a combination of things. Its rarity, demand from collectors, and its pristine condition. If you've got one that's been sitting untouched and has a shiny, uncirculated finish, you're in luck. Even if it's been jingling around in your pocket, it could still be worth a hefty chunk of change. I once found a penny from 1968 in my couch cushions. My heart raced because I didn't see a mint mark. I was already planning my trip to Hawaii in my head. Then I flipped it over and, nope, it had a tiny D. Talk about a reality check. But that's the thrill of coin hunting. You never know what treasure you might stumble upon, so how do you know if you've got the real deal? First, check the date. If it says 1968 and there's no little letter under it, you're in business. Next, inspect the coin's condition. The better the condition, the higher the value. And finally, consider getting it professionally graded by a service like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate your coin and help determine its market value. So, here's the takeaway. That jar of pennies collecting dust in your closet? It might just hold a jackpot. The 1968 no mint mark Lincoln penny is proof that sometimes the tiniest treasures can have the biggest payouts. Now, imagine finding one and being able to cash it in for over $1 million. That's the kind of retirement plan I can get behind. If this video inspired you to go coin hunting, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We've got tons more tips and tricks for spotting coins worth serious money, plus strategies to build your collection and even flip coins for profit. Hit that subscribe button and join the treasure hunting community. Who knows? Your next penny could be your ticket to a whole new life. All right, let's talk about something that might be hiding in your pocket or that jar of loose change at home. A 2006 D. Lincoln penny. Yep, I'm talking about a 1-cent coin that's worth a whopping $1.6 million. Crazy, right? Who knew the spare change jingling around in your car console could be worth more than a house? Now, before you dump your piggy bank on the floor, stick around, because we're going to dive into what makes this penny so special, how to tell if you've got one, and why someone would pay 7 figures for a coin most of us wouldn't even bother picking up off the sidewalk. Oh, and let me tell you a quick story about how I almost overlooked a valuable coin in my own collection. It's a doozy. What makes the 2006 D. Lincoln penny special? So, let's break this down. In 2006, the U.S. Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies. They were churned out like candy on Halloween. But this particular penny, minted in Denver, hence the D Mint mark, is one of the rarest and most sought-after coins in modern numismatics. Why? Well, it's all about a minting error. This penny was accidentally struck on a planchet. That's coin nerd speak for the blank metal disc, mint for a dime. Imagine a penny-sized design on a thinner, lighter piece of metal. It's a mix-up of epic proportions, and collectors love a good minting mishap. But wait, it gets juicier. Not only is this penny rare because of the mistake, but it's also in pristine condition, graded as a mess, 68 by professional coin graders. That's basically the Lamborghini of coin conditions. Almost perfect. Okay, so why on earth is someone willing to drop $1.6 million on a penny? It's simple: rarity and demand. There's only one of these known to exist. That's right, just one. In the coin world, scarcity drives value like nothing else. Think of it like a first edition comic book or a limited edition sneaker drop. If everyone wants it, and there's only one, the price skyrockets. Plus, the 2006 D. Lincoln penny has a wild backstory that makes it even more appealing to collectors. Now, let me tell you a little story about how I almost overlooked a rare find of my own. A few years ago, I was going through a box of old coins I'd inherited from my grandpa. Most of it was common stuff: nickels, dimes, and a whole lot of wheat pennies. But there was this one coin that looked off. It was a 1943 penny, but it wasn't the usual steel color. Turns out, it was a bronze 1943 penny, one of the rarest coins from World War II. I almost tossed it aside, thinking it was just dirty. Long story short, I had it appraised, and it was worth a few $1,000s. Moral of the story? Always double-check your change. How to check if you have a 2006 D. Lincoln penny worth millions, all right? Here's the part you've been waiting for. How do you know if you've got the $1 million penny? First, grab a magnifying glass or a coin microscope. Check for the D Mint mark, which will be just under the year. Then, look closely at the size and thickness of the penny. If it feels lighter than usual or seems thinner, you might have something special. The best way to confirm is to get it professionally graded by a service like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate the coin and give it a grade, which could mean the difference between a few bucks and life-changing money. Pro tip for aspiring coin hunters: if you're serious about finding valuable coins, start small. Check your pocket change, coin jars, or even rolls of pennies from the bank. You never know what treasures are hiding in plain sight. It's like a modern-day treasure hunt, but without the pirates. So, there you have it, the story of the 2006 D. Lincoln penny that's worth $1.6 million. If this doesn't inspire you to start checking your change, I don't know what will. Who knows? That next trip to the grocery store could turn into your golden ticket. Before you head off to raid your coin stash, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I've got plenty more tips and tricks to help you uncover coins worth money, learn the history behind them, and maybe even make a small fortune along the way. All right, folks, let's talk about money. And no, I'm not talking about your bank account or that stash you swear you're not hiding in your sock drawer. Today, we're diving into something way cooler: coins. Specifically, the 2015 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny that could make you a millionaire overnight. That's right, a penny worth a whopping $1.7 million. Yep, you heard me. The coin you might have in your pocket or hiding between your couch cushions could be your ticket to financial freedom. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of why this seemingly humble penny is worth more than most of our dream cars. Okay, first things first. What's the deal with this 2015 Lincoln penny? Most people see a penny and don't give it a second thought. But collectors? Oh, they see dollar signs. Now, here's the kicker. This specific penny is unique because it doesn't have a mint mark. Normally, coins minted in Philadelphia don't have a mark, but this isn't your average Philly coin. This particular penny's value skyrockets because it has an ultra-rare flaw, something we like to call a die error in the coin collecting world. Fancy, right? Die errors happen when something goes wrong during the minting process. Think of it like a factory blooper. And collectors? Oh, they go wild for these bloopers. It's like finding a typo in a best-selling book. But instead of correcting it, you cash in big time. Now, you're probably thinking, all right, but $1.7 million? That's a bit dramatic for a penny, isn't it? Well, not when you consider how much coin enthusiasts are willing to spend on rare finds. Auctions for these kinds of pennies are no joke. We're talking big rooms, bigger wallets, and people bidding like their lives depend on it. Just last year, one of these pennies sold for, you guessed it, $1.7 million. Mind-blowing, right? Let me share a quick story. A while back, I found a random penny on my car floor. It was grimy, looked like it had seen better days, and honestly, I almost tossed it. But then I remembered hearing about rare coins, so I gave it a closer look. Spoiler alert. It wasn't worth millions, but for a few seconds, I let myself dream about buying an island and retiring early. Turns out, it was just a regular 2015 penny. Still, it was a wake-up call. I started checking my change more carefully, and let me tell you, it's become a bit of an obsession. You never know when you might stumble across something truly life-changing. Now, let's talk strategy. If you're curious about whether you have one of these bad boys, here's what to do. Grab a magnifying glass, or if you're like me and can't find one, just squint really hard. Look for the absence of a mint mark. No D for Denver, no S for San Francisco. Just plain old Abraham Lincoln staring back at you. Examine the coin for any unique errors, things like double die marks or strange text. If you think you've found one, don't just run to your local pawn shop. Take it to a professional coin grader to verify its authenticity. Trust me, you don't want to get ripped off by someone who offers you $5 for a $1.7 million treasure. So there you have it. The story of a little penny with a big price tag. The next time you get some change at the grocery store or dig through your car's cup holder, take a moment to check those pennies. Who knows? You might be holding onto the jackpot and not even realize it. Now, before you go on a coin hunting spree, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I'll be sharing more tips, tricks, and hidden treasures you can find in your everyday life. Who needs a lottery ticket when you've got pennies worth millions? Have you ever found a penny in your couch cushions and thought, hey, maybe this one's worth something? Well, what if I told you that you could be sitting on a gold mine, just waiting for someone to take a look at it? I'm talking about a rare penny, specifically the 1964 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. You might want to check your pockets, your piggy bank, or even your change jar after hearing this, because the value of this little coin might just blow your mind out. So, if you're ready to learn about a penny that could be worth over $1.7 million, grab your magnifying glass, and let's dive into the fascinating world of coin collecting. Stick around until the end, and I'll share a little story from my own experience that'll make you look at your spare change in a whole new way. Alright, so let's start at the beginning. In 1964, the US Mint produced billions of pennies, and if you've ever looked at a coin from that year, you probably noticed that they all look pretty similar. They all have President Abraham Lincoln on one side, right? It's the coin we've all seen a million times. The one that you might not even bother to pick up when it drops on the sidewalk. But here's the kicker. The 1964 D Mint Mark penny is a rarity that could make you rich, and here's why. First, let's talk about that D Mint Mark. For those of you who aren't familiar, the D stands for the Denver Mint, where the coin was made. Normally, the Denver Mint produces coins that are relatively easy to find in your pocket change, but the 1964 D penny? Well, let's just say it's not your typical pocket change. It's a part of a unique batch that was created with some unusual errors during production. Now, let's get down to the serious stuff. The value of the 1964 D penny with these errors can reach over $1.7 million in certain cases. That's right, $1.7 million. But before you get too excited and start rummaging through your collection of old pennies, you need to know what makes these specific coins so special. The rare 1964D penny in question has a double die error, meaning that the coin was stamped twice, which created a slight doubling effect on certain details. Most notably, you can see this on Abraham Lincoln's beard and the date. It's subtle, but it's there. And the best part? Not every 1964D penny has this error. Only a few lucky ones did, and they're now highly sought after by collectors. Now, you might be asking, how do I know if I have one of these million-dollar pennies? Good question. Here's how you can check. Look at the date and the words around Lincoln's image closely. Use a magnifying glass if you have one, because sometimes the error is hard to see with the naked eye. Look for that little bit of doubling. And don't just look at the front. Check the back of the penny too, because these errors can show up there as well. If you find a penny that has any signs of doubling, even if you're not sure, keep it. You might have found yourself a hidden gem. Some of these pennies have sold at auction for well over $1 million. So take your time. Don't just toss that coin in your pocket and forget about it. Okay, so you've got the knowledge, but let's talk about the real-life impact of this discovery. Imagine this. You're sitting at home, looking through a box of old pennies your granddad gave you, and boom, there it is. The 1964D penny with that subtle double die error. You take it to a professional grader, and they confirm that it's in mint condition. They tell you it could sell for over $1 million at auction. You'd probably do a double take, right? I know I would. Let me share a little personal story with you. A couple of years ago, I was at a flea market, and I found a small jar of loose change at a booth. The guy selling it was just getting rid of it for a few bucks, thinking it was all junk. But something caught my eye. A few old pennies stuck to the top of the jar. I didn't think much of it at the time, but I ended up buying the jar for only $3. Fast forward a few days, and I sat down to sift through the coins. I found a 1955 wheat penny in decent condition, and though it wasn't $1 million find, it was still worth way more than $3. It just goes to show that you never know when a random find could turn into something big. So now, whenever I see old coins, I don't just toss them in the trash. I check them out. So, here's the bottom line. If you come across a 1964D penny, don't just ignore it because it looks like any other penny. It could be worth a fortune. Keep your eyes peeled for that double die error. Check your spare change, your old coin collections, or even your grandmother's coin jar. You never know when a small coin can turn into a giant payday. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe for more tips on coins worth money, hidden treasures in your change jar, and strategies to grow your coin collection. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on future videos where I'll be sharing more tips and tricks to make sure you don't leave money on the table. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting out there. You never know when that next $1 million penny is waiting for you. You're going through a jar of old pennies, maybe something your grandma gave you, and you find a coin that looks a little different. A 1998 penny. But wait, there's no mint mark. Now you're thinking, what's the big deal? It's just a penny, right? Wrong. You might have just stumbled upon a coin worth $1.9 million. No, I'm not kidding. Stick with me, and let me explain how this tiny, seemingly insignificant penny could be the jackpot of your life. Okay, let's break this down. The 1998 penny without a mint mark is rare. So rare, in fact, that it has been known to fetch a whopping $1.9 million in the market. Now, you're probably thinking, I've seen a lot of 1998 pennies, and none of them are worth even $1. So, what makes this one different? First off, let's talk about the mint mark. If you flip a typical US penny over, you'll see a little D for Denver or an S for San Francisco next to the date. These letters indicate where the coin was minted. But in 1998, a few pennies were accidentally produced without a mint mark. And while you might assume that such a mistake would make the coin less valuable, it actually did the opposite. In fact, it made these no mint mark pennies rare, and rarity in the coin world means big bucks. Now, this isn't your everyday error coin. We're talking about a penny that slipped through the cracks and somehow didn't get the mint mark stamp, which, as you can imagine, wasn't supposed to happen. When collectors get wind of a mistake like this, they start to get excited. And as the market sees fewer of these pennies in circulation, their value skyrockets. We're talking about one of these babies being worth $1.9 million. Yeah, You heard me, 1.9 million. That's enough to make you want to check every penny you've ever had lying around. Now, I know what you're thinking. Where can I find one of these pennies? Well, that's the tough part. These no-mint mark pennies are incredibly rare, and there's no guarantee that you'll find one in your spare change. But hey, you might just get lucky. It's a bit like finding a needle in a haystack, except the needle's worth millions of dollars. But let me tell you a quick story. About a year ago, I was going through an old tin can of coins I had kept since childhood. I was looking for some old silver dimes when I stumbled across a 1998 penny. It looked pretty normal at first glance, but then I realized something: no mint mark. My heart started racing, thinking, could this be the one? Spoiler alert, it wasn't. It was just a regular penny. But the excitement I felt in that moment, the hope that I had found something worth thousands, if not millions, was enough to keep me looking through my coins more carefully. And I know you'll feel the same way if you find one of these rare pennies. So, what's the bottom line here? If you have a 1998 penny without a mint mark, congratulations. You might be sitting on a small fortune. It might take some time and effort to authenticate it and find a buyer willing to pay that top dollar. But the potential payoff is huge. Even if you don't have one, it's a great reminder to always check your change. You never know when you'll find something that's worth more than you think. And hey, even if you don't strike it rich with a 1998 no mint mark penny, there are tons of other rare coins out there that could be hiding in plain sight. Want more tips and strategies on spotting valuable coins? Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the ways you can turn your pocket change into something amazing. Imagine you're digging through a jar of spare change and boom, you stumble upon a penny. Sounds like a pretty normal day, right? Well, what if I told you that penny could be worth $1.1 million? Yup, you heard that right. Today, we're talking about the 1969 D-Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny and why it's making waves in the coin world. Stick around because by the end of this video, you might just find yourself inspecting every penny you have at home. Now, let's break this down because I know what you're thinking. A penny? Really? It might sound a little far-fetched, but bear with me here. The 1969 D penny isn't just any ordinary penny. Sure, it's got the good old Abraham Lincoln face on it, but it also has something special, something that sets it apart from the millions of other pennies that were minted that year. First off, the D in 1969 D stands for the Denver Mint, where this penny was made. But what makes this particular coin so valuable isn't just the mint mark. It's the fact that it has a rare error. I'm talking about a double die obverse, which means the coin was stamped twice during the minting process, causing the details on Lincoln's face and the date to appear slightly doubled. This mistake makes the coin incredibly rare. We're talking about a minting error that only happens every once in a blue moon, making it a holy grail for collectors. But here's where it gets interesting. This mistake, this tiny little double stamp, can turn a penny worth just 1 cent into something worth over $1 million. That's right. A single 1969 D penny with this error has been sold at auction for up to $1.1 million. That's not a typo. And trust me, that's more than the spare change you'll find in your couch cushions. You're probably wondering how to spot this million-dollar penny. Well, that's where the fun begins. You're not just looking for any 1969 D penny. You're looking for the double die error. So, what should you be checking? The most obvious sign is in the date itself, where you'll notice a slight doubling in the numbers. Then, look at Lincoln's face and the lettering again. If it's doubled, you're in business. I remember one time I was going through a bunch of pennies I had collected over the years. Honestly, I thought they were just going to be good for a rainy day snack or something. But then I got a looking closer and, well, spoiler alert, I didn't find anything worth $1 million. But it did remind me of how easy it is to overlook a rare find. It's easy to get lazy about checking our change, right? I mean, who has time to check every coin? But this story proves that taking a second look could really pay off. Now, before you start running around checking every penny in your piggy bank, let's talk about the condition of these coins. The more pristine the coin is, the more valuable it becomes. A coin in mint condition, with no scratches or signs of wear, will fetch more than a coin that's been tossed around in a jar for decades. So, keep those pennies safe, folks. Authenticity is key. There are plenty of counterfeit coins out there, So make sure you're buying from a reputable dealer or getting your coin verified by a professional if you think you found one. There's no point in getting excited about a rare penny if it turns out to be a dud. So, what's the takeaway from all this? Well, the 1969 D Lincoln penny with the double die error is a real treasure for any coin collector. It's a great reminder that sometimes the value of something is hidden beneath the surface. If you're lucky enough to find one of these million-dollar pennies, it could change your life. And even if you don't, you might just stumble across a different coin worth a pretty penny. Pun totally intended. If you've enjoyed learning about this rare coin and you want more tips on finding hidden treasures in your spare change, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty more tips, tricks, and coin stories coming your way. Don't miss out on the chance to become a coin expert and maybe, just maybe, be the next person to discover a penny worth millions. Thanks for watching, and keep those eyes sharp. You never know what you might find in your pocket change. So, you're probably looking through your spare change right now, trying to figure out if that dusty old penny you found in the couch cushions is worth anything. Well, you might want to grab that penny and give it a second look, because today we're talking about a coin so rare, it's worth more than most people's cars and some houses. Yup, we're diving into the story of the 1968 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny that could fetch you up to $1.5 million. That's right, $1.5 million for a penny. Now, I know what you're thinking. There's no way I've got one of those. But trust me, after this video, you'll be checking your pockets like they're made of gold. Let's get into it. Now, before we start talking dollar signs, let's take a minute to talk about why this penny is worth so much. Normally, pennies are, well, pennies. They're worth 1 cent, right? But the 1968 penny is a bit of an anomaly. You see, back in 1968, the US Mint was making billions of pennies, but there was a small batch of them that were minted without a mint mark. Sounds pretty boring, right? But it's this simple missing detail that could make your old penny worth a fortune. In 1968, pennies were supposed to have a mint mark on them that identified where they were made, either in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. Most pennies from that year had a D or an S for Denver or San Francisco, but a few, just a few, slipped through the cracks without a mint mark at all. And that's what makes them so special. A mistake that happened decades ago is now worth a small fortune. In fact, it's estimated that there are fewer than a dozen of these 1968 no mint mark pennies out there, making them rarer than a blue moon.so. How much are we talking about here? You might be sitting there, thinking, okay, so it's worth like a couple $100, right? Well, think again. These bad boys are currently fetching up to $1.5 million at auction. Yeah, you heard that right. $1.5 million. Imagine that. A single penny turning into a fortune. And let's be real. If you had one of these, you'd probably be feeling like you hit the jackpot at a penny slot machine. Now, I know what you're thinking again, but wait, how do I know if my 1968 penny is a no mint mark? Fair question. Here's a little trick. You'll want to closely examine your coin. Look at the obverse, the head side, of the penny, right near Abraham Lincoln's shoulder. If there's no mint mark, bingo, you might be holding on to a small treasure. But, and this is important, don't just take my word for it. If you think you've found one, it's worth getting an expert to verify it. There are some fakes out there, and you don't want to be caught holding a dud. Speaking of finding rare coins, let me tell you a quick personal story. A few years ago, I was rummaging through a box of old coins my grandma left me, and I found what I thought was just a regular 1960s penny. I mean, honestly, I wasn't expecting much, but I gave it a look under the magnifying glass just for fun. Turns out, it wasn't the 1960s penny I thought it was at all. It was a 1955 double die penny, which is worth hundreds of dollars. So yeah, don't sleep on those old coins in your drawer. You never know when a little bit of history might come through for you, so if you've got a 1968 penny lying around, make sure to take a closer look. It could be your ticket to a windfall. Even if it's not worth $1 million, there are plenty of other rare coins hiding in your change jar, waiting to be discovered. And who knows, maybe next time you're going through your coins, you'll find something even more valuable than this 1968 no mint mark penny. If you want more tips on rare coins, hidden treasures, and all things numismatic, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got more tips, tricks, and treasure hunts coming your way. And hey, who doesn't love the idea of finding money in your spare change? It's like winning the lottery, one penny at a time. Thanks. We're diving into the story of the 1986 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, a coin that could potentially make you a millionaire without even trying. So, buckle up, because we're about to uncover some serious coin magic. Let's get started. Okay, let's rewind for a second. Most of us, when we think of pennies, we don't exactly picture a fortune. After all, it's just a small copper coin, right? I mean, who doesn't have a jar or a drawer full of them? I know I do. In fact, I've spent way too many hours digging through my own change jar trying to find a special penny or two. Spoiler alert. I didn't find anything close to $1 million. But that doesn't mean you won't. Now, let's talk about the 1986 no-mint mark penny, the coin that's worth a jaw-dropping $1.7 million if you happen to have one in your collection. I know, it sounds insane, but stick with me here. You see, every penny that gets made in the US usually has a mint mark. That tiny little letter, either D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or no letter at all if it's from Philadelphia, tells you where the coin was produced. But in 1986, something unusual happened. A number of pennies were struck without a mint mark, and guess what? That tiny oversight made them incredibly rare. Like, you could retire on this coin rare. Now, how did this happen? Well, the truth is, nobody knows for sure. Some say it was an error. Others speculate it was a production mistake that slipped through the cracks. Either way, it's caused a bit of a stir in the coin collecting world. The 1986 no-mint mark penny became one of the most sought-after coins in recent years. So, how do you even know if your penny is worth this much? Well, first things first, check for the mint mark. If there's none, then it's worth investigating further. But don't just start running to your nearest coin dealer thinking you've struck gold. You need to get the coin verified. Here's a quick story from my own experience. A few months ago, I was going through some old coins that I'd inherited from my grandfather. I didn't expect to find anything valuable, but won an old 1986 penny. I thought, hey, this could be cool for my collection, but I didn't give it a second thought beyond that. Imagine my surprise when I later learned about these no-mint mark pennies. I rushed to check mine. And guess what? No mint mark. I was convinced I had struck the motherlode. Unfortunately, after having it appraised, it turned out to be a regular one. It was still cool to learn about the error, but I wasn't walking away with $1.7 million that day. Moral of the story? Not all 1986 pennies are created equal, but it's worth checking. So, what makes the no mint mark 1986 penny so valuable? It's all about rarity. The fewer there are, the more valuable they become. In fact, some reports claim that only a handful of these coins exist. If you do find one that's in excellent condition and graded highly by a professional, you're sitting on a potential gold mine. Another factor that can increase its value is whether it has any unique features, like an error in the strike or exceptional preservation. In the world of coin collecting, the condition is everything. The better the condition, the higher the value. So, take good care of those pennies. Now, you might be wondering, how do I know if my 1986 penny is worth a fortune? Well, the answer is simple. Get it checked by a professional appraiser. Many coin dealers or professional grading services will be happy to take a look at your coin and tell you its worth. And if you do find that it's one of these rare no-mint mark pennies, you're in for a major payday. If you're going to sell your valuable coin, make sure you do your research first. Some buyers might try to lowball you, so knowing the true value is key. Also, keep an eye on the market because coin values can fluctuate just like any other collector's item. Right now, the 1986 no-mint mark penny is at the top of its game, but who knows where it'll be in a few years. Alright, let's wrap this up. The 1986 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is a rare find, and if you happen to have one, it could be worth a small fortune. But remember, it's all about the details, the condition, the rarity, and getting it authenticated. Who knows? That dusty penny you've been ignoring could be your ticket to a life-changing payday. Before you rush to check your change jar and start digging for treasure, I want to remind you of something important. Coin collecting is all about patience and knowledge. It's not just about finding rare coins. It's about learning the stories behind them and the thrill of the hunt. So, Whether you're collecting coins for fun or hoping to strike it rich, keep exploring, keep learning, and maybe one day you'll find your very own $1.7 million penny. It's just a penny. It's not worth much, right? Well, hold on to your hats, because if that penny happens to be a 1976 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny, you could be holding on to a rare gem worth, wait for it, $1.2 million. Yep, you heard that right. A penny worth $1.2 million. Stick around, because we're about to dive into how that tiny little coin could make you a whole lot richer. Now, I know it sounds crazy, but there's a twist to this story. I mean, how could a penny be worth that much? Let's find out. You won't want to miss this. Alright, before we jump into the million-dollar part, let's rewind and talk about the 1976 penny itself. First off, it's important to know that the US Mint produced billions of pennies in 1976, as they do every year. Most of them are your average, run-of-the-mill copper-plated zinc pennies. But here's where it gets interesting. A tiny mistake happened during production. A mistake that, thanks to the sheer rarity of it, could make you a millionaire. The mint mark, that little D you see under Abraham Lincoln's chin, is what makes the coin from the Denver Mint. For most pennies, that little mint mark is nothing special. But there was a tiny, tiny batch of 1976 pennies where the mint mark was placed incorrectly, too high, almost making it look like an error. And this isn't just any old oops mistake. People didn't know about it right away, but over time, collectors began to take notice. So, how can you tell if you've got one of these golden, well, copper, technically, tickets? It's all about the mint mark. If you have a 1976 penny with a D mint mark and that mint mark is too high, you might have something worth more than just pocket change. The way to check is simple. Take a close look at the placement of the D. If it's positioned above the typical spot, where it should be lower near the bottom of the coin, then you've got something rare. Now, I can already hear you, okay, cool, but I don't even know what a normal mint mark looks like, let alone one that's too high. Well, I get it. It's one of those things where you might need a magnifying glass or a really sharp eye. Or, if you're like me, you might just spend hours squinting at pennies, wondering if you've got the lucky one. But trust me, when you find it, it'll feel like finding a needle in a haystack. I know. This is the part you're waiting for. How does a penny that looks just like the rest of them turn into a million-dollar coin? Well, it's all about the rarity and the error. Coins with mistakes or errors, especially from the US Mint, are often worth a lot more because they're not supposed to exist. Collectors love a good oops moment because it makes a coin unique. Think of it like owning the only wrong version of a famous painting. Sure, you could get a regular version at a store, but the rare one with a mistake? That's the one that'll make you a small fortune. Now, how does this happen? It's all about collectors and their love for these anomalies. There are only a few known 1976 D pennies with this high mint mark error, which makes it rare. And, as with anything rare, the demand for it goes way up, driving the price sky high. That's how we end up with a penny that could potentially be worth $1 million. Now, of course, finding one of these elusive pennies isn't like picking one up off the ground, but it does happen. My personal experience. The pennies that got away, let me tell you a quick story about my own penny searching days. So, a few years ago, I was super into coin collecting. Who isn't, right? I was going through a bunch of old pennies I found in a change jar, thinking I might come across something cool. I remember pulling out a 1976 penny, and honestly, I almost tossed it right back in because I thought, it's just a regular penny. But then, I remembered hearing about this rare 1976 D penny with the mint mark error. I pulled it up close, examined it under the light, and of course, it was a dud. Mint mark was fine. No errors, no magic. I think I kept it as a maybe coin for a while, but eventually, I tossed it back into the jar with all the others. Flash forward to today, and I'm like, how many million-dollar pennies did I just give up? But hey, that's the gamble with coin collecting. Sometimes you win big, sometimes you find nothing. What's the market like for this penny today? So, if you're thinking about jumping into the world of rare pennies, here's the thing. Finding a 1976 D with that high mint mark is like winning the lottery. They don't pop up every day. But when they do, people are paying serious money. In fact, some of these 1976 D pennies have sold for as much as $1.2 million at auction. Yeah, I'm talking about a penny. That small copper disc that we all throw around without a second thought could end up making you richer than your wildest dreams. And even if you don't have the mint-marked miracle penny, don't despair. There are other rare coins out there. The coin world is full of hidden treasures just waiting to be uncovered. So, there you have it. Your potential path to $1 million coin could be lying in your pocket right now. Take a look at those 1976 pennies, inspect those mint marks, and who knows? You could be sitting on a small fortune without even knowing it. Before you go, if you're into finding hidden gems like this or just love hearing about the crazy ways coins can be worth big money, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I've got tons of tips, tricks, and strategies to help you spot coins that could be worth more than their face value. Who knows? The next video might just help you discover the treasure you've been looking for. You're rummaging through an old jar of loose change, maybe some pennies, nickels, and dimes, the usual stuff. But then, you spot something that makes you pause. You pick it up, give it a little rub, and what do you know? It's a 2013 penny. Pretty ordinary, right? Wrong. This penny could be worth over $1 million. Yes, you heard that right, $1.4 million. That penny could make you a small fortune. Now, before you start rating every couch cushion in your house, let's talk about why this 2013 penny is the one to look out for. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you might just find out you've got a rare gem sitting in your spare change. Alright, first things first. You're probably wondering, how on earth can a 2013 penny be worth over $1 million? I mean, we're talking about a penny, a single cent, that's supposed to be worth, well, a cent? So, what's the deal? Here's where it gets interesting. Normally, a penny from 2013 doesn't stand out much. It's copper-plated, features Abraham Lincoln on the front, no surprises there, and has the usual E pluribus unum on the back. But in 2013, something went a little wonky at the US Mint. A tiny mistake, barely noticeable unless you're a serious coin collector, led to a rare misprint. Pennies that were missing their mint mark. Now, let me break this down for you. Every coin the US Mint produces has a mint mark. That's the little letter that shows where it was made, whether it's Philadelphia, P, Denver, D, or San Francisco, S. But in 2013, a few pennies rolled off the production line without that mint mark. And guess what? That tiny error turned those pennies into major collectibles. To put it into perspective, a regular 2013 penny is worth about 1 cent. But a 2013 penny with no mint mark? That can fetch you around $1.4 million at auction. So, it's not just the penny itself that's valuable, but that little lack of a mint mark. Now, I know what you're thinking. How am I supposed to know if my penny's missing a mint mark? Great question. Here's the trick. First, grab your magnifying glass. Yes, you can channel your inner Sherlock Holmes. Look closely at the bottom of the penny, just beneath the year. If you see no D or P, congratulations, you might have something special on your hands. It's actually a funny story. A couple of years ago, I was going through some change I found in an old box. I pulled out a 2013 penny and thought, another penny. I'll just toss it in the jar. But then I remembered reading about these error pennies, and I thought, hey, why not check it out? I flipped it over, and guess what? No mint mark. I nearly fell off my chair. I didn't end up with $1 million coin, but I definitely learned my lesson. Always check your change. Now, not every 2013 penny without a mint mark is worth a fortune. You'll want to look for certain signs of wear, condition, and whether it's an authentic error. There's a whole process for getting it authenticated, which might include sending it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. But once it's confirmed as the real deal, you could be looking at a pretty penny, and by pretty penny, I mean big bucks. But wait, there's more. Let's not forget about the market for these coins. Demand for rare pennies has been steadily climbing over the years, with collectors willing to pay top dollar for that 1 in a million find. So, even if your 2013 penny isn't worth $1.4 million, it might still be worth quite a bit more than you think. So, now that you know about the elusive 2013 penny with no mint mark, what are you going to do? Well, I'd say it's time to go through your spare change and check for that missing mint mark. Who knows? You might just be holding on to a small fortune. And if you didn't find anything this time, don't worry. There are plenty of other rare coins out there. If you keep hunting and stay informed, you could be sitting on a future treasure. Now, before you start flipping through your coins, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. I've got loads more tips on finding valuable coins and turning your spare change into serious cash. If you want to stay in the loop on all things coin collecting and make sure you're not missing out on the next big find, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. Thanks for watching and happy hunting. Because who knows, that next penny you find could be the one to make you a millionaire. You've got a humble penny in your hand. Not just any penny, though. It's a 2004 Abraham Lincoln penny. But hold on, it's not just any 2004 penny either. It's a rare version with no mint mark. That little coin could be worth $1.50 million. Now, before you start checking every penny in your jar or thinking about cleaning out your couch cushions, let's break down exactly what makes this coin so special. Stick with me, because this is one journey you won't want to miss. Alright, let's get into it. So, you know how most coins have a mint mark? It's that little letter on the coin that tells you where it was made. For example, a D means it was made in Denver, and a S means it came from San Francisco. But the 2004 penny without a mint mark? That's where the magic happens. You see, most 2004 pennies were made with a mint mark, but some didn't have one. They were supposed to be produced in the Philadelphia Mint, but for reasons unknown, a few slipped through without the little P, D, or S stamp. A tiny error like this might seem insignificant, but when it comes to coins, it's a game changer. Now, before we get all collector mode here, let's talk about the value. A regular 2004 penny isn't worth much more than its face value, 1 cent. But a 2004 penny with no mint mark? That rare beauty could fetch anywhere from $500 to $1.5 million, depending on its condition and where it was sold. Crazy, right? But how in the world did a simple mistake turn into a multi-million-dollar coin? Well, it's all about rarity. The fewer of these pennies there are, the more valuable they become. It's like when a band makes a limited edition vinyl album. Only so many were pressed, so now collectors will pay big bucks for a copy. Well, I bet everyone else already knows about these pennies. I'll never find one. But trust me, there's still hope. Even though most of these pennies are in the hands of collectors, the truth is, they can be found. You just have to keep your eyes peeled and know what you're looking for. Now, here's a little story to give you some perspective. A few years back, I was cleaning out my old coin jar, the one I'd been tossing change into since high school. I pulled out a penny, just like any other penny, and noticed that it looked a little off. It wasn't shiny, like the ones that got polished over time. This one had a distinct, unmarked look to it. I didn't think much of it, but I decided to look it up out of curiosity. I almost dropped my phone when I found out that it could be worth a small fortune. Long story short, I didn't have the mintless 2004 penny, but that moment got me seriously thinking about how many people unknowingly hold rare coins in their pockets. I mean, think about it. We all have pennies lying around, right? We toss them in jars, let them gather dust, or lose them in the sofa cushions. And yet, somewhere out there are people with coins worth more than the car in their driveway. It's mind-boggling. Never underestimate the humble penny. Your next trip to the coin jar might just change your life. If you've got a 2004 penny with no mint mark, you could be sitting on a small fortune, or even a big one. You've got to inspect your pennies, be patient, and, most importantly, know the value of what you're holding. Now, if you're like me and want to stay on top of all the coin news and tips, so you don't miss out on finding that million-dollar gem, hit that subscribe button. I'll keep you updated on all the hidden treasures in your pocket, and who knows, maybe your next coin could be the one that makes you rich. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, keep hunting those rare coins. You never know when you might find your golden ticket.